What is up, everybody? Maine Fly Guys here with the emerger phase of the caddis. And you know, in ecology, you would say that the caddisfly has what's called incomplete metamorphosis. It has 3 stages: an egg, a larval stage or the nymph stage, and then it busts out of its nymph stage and becomes an adult. It doesn't go into a cocoon like a butterfly, you know, or a chrysalis, like a moth and a butterfly, which would be considered complete metamorphosis. So I think, though, as far as fly fishing goes, each fly has 4 stages, or each aquatic living fly has 4 stages. And I think fish don't really eat the eggs because they're so small. But they have sort of a nymph or larval stage, which we've gone over. They have an adult stage. They have a pupa stage and an emerging phase. And even within those phases, you can get more complicated, like egg-laying adults or spent adults for mayfly. So it can get a little complicated, but there is, on a very basic level, 4. This is a Firehole 315, and it's a great emerger for any type of emerger. It's really fantastic. So it's like the only hook I use for emergers. I'm tying in a shuck. This is essentially a case. This is trying to imitate like a case that you know, the insect has shucked away and is leaving, because during the emerging phase, that's what happens. The shuck, the external skeleton of the insect, gets shed, and they take their new adult form. And so, at that moment, the insect is very, very vulnerable. And that's why this makes such a great pattern, because fish really key in on, there we go, fish really key in on this life stage, because catching the insect is so easy, because they're in the process of removing that shuck, which can be sort of a cumbersome ordeal for the insect. This is just polyarn, by the way. It's just polyarn. And I choose orange. So I got my body done. I only do a thread body. You could put dubbing on it. You could put whatever you want on it. I don't particularly care. But you can put whatever you want on it. So what I do next is I come in with just a wee bit of dubbing. Just a wee bit. I'm going to move my thread forward, right to basically before the eye, and I'm going to work backwards and dub that area. So I've now dubbed this area. This is just tan dubbing. You could use olive or whatever. And I'm going to come in with some elk hair, some deer hair, whatever you got. You're going to want a little bit less than, say, a normal, just a smidge less, and I want it to go right to the back of that hook. So it should be right about there. So you see the tips here are basically right to the back of the hook. And what I'm going to do is pinch them down. Okay. Now, I'm going to move forward with my thread to make this little space here. Okay? Do you see how I have that little gap there? This gap, I'm going to work backwards here. There we go. So you see this wing, it's a little smaller than our dry adult caddis wing, but every stage has similarities, you know? Each stage has its own unique sort of aspect. But each stage shares something. So this stage, it's emerging. This is the wing that it's emerging, right? Okay, so what you're going to do is check to make sure that you haven't covered the eye, which I haven't. See how it stops there? good. I'm going to keep this while I tie it. I'm not going to trim it just yet. So what I do is I take some CDC. Now, sometimes I'll take hackle and use hackle for this. Put hackle around here, that's totally fine, but I'm going to show you the way to do it with CDC. So I grab the tip of my CDC, and I'm going to catch it right at the back there. Good, and I'm going to move forward. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my CDC, and just like hackle, I'm going to wrap it. And let's be careful not to catch any fibers from your front like I just did there. You don't want to do that. Okay, so I'm going to wrap forward. Oops, touch the camera. I'm going to wrap forward, keep going. You should get to pretty much right to the front there. And I know you're like, well, Greg, this is messy. That's all right. We're going to clean it up in a second. So once you get it locked and right up to the front there, we're good there. I'm going to come in and I'm going to move to the front with my thread. And I'm going to whip finish out front. The reason I keep all those fibers there is because it's just so much easier to whip finish when you can grab hold of them. Okay, then I'm going to take my head. Careful, I don't want to trim too much of these fibers. If you catch a few, it's not a big deal. And boom, got my little caddis head. Okay, so now I have all these fluffy, I mean, look at, that is just a buggy looking emerger. So this is what I have. So it's a shucked case. During the emerging phase, it's very messy. So you end up with a lot of these fibers and broken legs or old exoskeleton legs, and it looks a lot like something like this in the film of the water. It actually ends up looking quite a bit like this, giving this sort of messy profile. And so that's it. That's our emerging phase. Again, hackle works just as good. Hackle works, just as good. If you're looking for a substitute, if you don't have CDC, you can change the colors up. Obviously, gray is great, but you can use other colors. And so there it is. There's our little emerger. And so that I've now posted all four of the. This is my last one. I'm going to post them all together, but I've posted all four of them. If I were to only fish with one insect for June, July, and September, I guess early September, and even late May, it would be the caddis. And I would have the four patterns that I've put out here, and those are the four that I would use to fish. Like it's hard to beat. They catch a lot of fish. They catch a lot of big fish if you hit it right. Fishing it in the morning. How to fish this particular pattern? I typically only fish this when I see fish rising, and they're quick blips. They're not coming like clear out of the water. They're just quick blips, and that quick blip means that they're hitting emergers. And so I might throw the pupa, or I might throw this, depending on what I see visually. If I don't see any adults, then I'll use the pupa. If I see some adults, then I'll use this. This is a great way to sort of get those picky fish. And yeah, I've had some great success with it. So that's it for caddis.